One of the most overlooked details in the film is how the rescue on Nal Hutta completely reverses the emotional dynamic between Grogu and Din. For 3 seasons, Din protected Grogu. He carried him, hid him, saved him. Now, Grogu becomes the protector. And the movie doesn't make a huge spectacle out of that transformation. Notice how Grogu's actions are treated almost matter-of-factly throughout the rescue. There isn't a grand heroic speech or a dramatic declaration. He simply steps in when Din can no longer protect himself. That restraint makes the moment feel earned rather than manufactured. He rescues Din from the dragon snake pit. He helps him recover from the poison. He stands beside him during the assault on the Hutt fortress. The movie quietly transforms Grogu from a child into an active guardian. And the film even says it directly. The old protect the young, and the young protect the old. That line is more than dialogue. It's the entire theme of the movie. Even Rada reflects that same idea. Unlike the brutal Hutt twins, Rada chooses to fight beside Din and Grogu. By the end, he rejects the cruelty of his own bloodline and joins the New Republic instead. That's not just character development. It's Star Wars repeating one of its oldest themes: inheritance is a choice. You are not doomed to become the people who raised you. And suddenly, the ending feels very different. Because the final scene isn't really about adventure. It's about belonging. What stands out is how surprisingly calm the sequence feels. Most Star Wars finales build toward one last revelation or a promise of a bigger conflict ahead. Here, the film deliberately slows down. There is no urgent warning. No hidden villain reveal. No last-minute crisis. Instead, the focus remains on Din and Grogu sharing a moment of peace before entering hyperspace. That choice feels intentional. For a franchise built on constant escalation, ending on a quiet character moment almost feels unusual. But that's exactly why it resonates. When Colonel Ward tells Din that the New Republic looks after its own, the line could easily be dismissed as simple dialogue. But within the context of Din's journey, it carries much more weight. Since the beginning of The Mandalorian, Din has operated as an outsider. He worked alone, trusted very few people, and whenever he found a community, he usually ended up leaving it behind. This is one of the first times the story suggests that he no longer has to. The lone gunslinger archetype that defined the character is slowly fading away, replaced by something far more difficult for Din to accept: dependence on other people. And maybe that's why the movie avoids ending on Thrawn or another giant cliffhanger. The emotional climax isn't about setting up the next war. It's about Din accepting connection. Personally, I think that's why the ending feels unexpectedly emotional despite being so restrained. The film never asks us to be excited about the next war. It asks us to appreciate how far these characters have come. Din no longer sees Grogu as someone who simply needs protection. Grogu no longer behaves like a child waiting to be rescued. And together, they leave the story in a very different place from where they began. Not because they changed the galaxy. Because they changed each other. Star Wars usually builds toward destiny and prophecy. But this movie builds toward responsibility. Not saving the galaxy. Saving each other. And honestly, that may be the clearest sign yet of where Star Wars is heading next. Smaller stories. More personal stakes. Characters choosing family over mythology.